I saw a thing with Kanye and Colby Covington today. Their worlds collide, right? Don't you know this, Woody? Isn't this your favorite topic in the world now?
Who's Colby?
Yeah.
So Colby Covington
that
is a UFC fighter. He poses as right wing, wears MAGA hats. He's hung out with Donald Trump a little bit. So what happened was Candace Owens, that right wing political commentator who's a black lady. I think she has a film called like The Biggest Lie Ever Sold or something like that.
It's about Black Lives Matter.
Yeah. And it's about Black Lives Matter being a huge scam. And so they're at the premiere of this movie, right, on the red carpet. And there's Candace, her husband, very nice looking fella, Kanye West, and Colby Covington. And they are and they're there. They're all wearing black because it's quote unquote BLM's funeral.
This is today.
I saw it today. It can't be more than like 48 hours old.
I'm pretty sure the movie premiered like today, if I remember correctly.
Wow. How's it doing in theaters?
Oh,
so fun fact. I've met Candace Owens.
Really?
I have met Candace Owens. I met her at the Trump Hotel in DC when I was a sophomore. I think I was a sophomore in college. I was 20 years old. I was not supposed to be there. I could not legally be in that room because it was alcohol being served and all that. But no, I met Candace Owens. I'd met Charlie Kirk before. Charlie Kirk's got some weird tastes. He was in a hotel room across from my hotel room at CPAC one year, and he got mad at us in our room. Keep in mind, the guy was maybe 27 at the time, if that. He was mad at us because we were listening to music. It was like 9 p.m. on a Friday, and he was trying to like listen to classical music and drink a bottle of wine alone in his room. And we were all like, "Okay, Charlie." But no, I went in here and I was drinking scotch with Nigel Farage, and I met Mike Cernovich, and I think Tucker was there. It was
what year was this? Oh, a while ago.
2018, I think, maybe 2019.
Damn. So, do you know the inside scoop? On Kanye.
Kanye was not there, I will say that much, but Candace was a weird person to interact with. She did not want to talk to anybody. She basically, her and Charlie just sat on a couch and drank wine alone the entire time. I thought it was very odd. I personally, I never liked Candace Owens, even when she was just like red pill black on YouTube.
All I've ever wanted to do is sit on a couch alone and drink wine. That sounds like a great time.
Well,
does it?
With Charlie Kirk,
you epic wine lover.
No, I was there with a guy who is now in prison for the January 6th riots. My life in college was weird as fuck.
Oh, I bet there wasn't just one guy.
There are probably a few people there.
I bet a few.
Aren't you all so glad that we weren't there for some weird reason? Like we could have been.
I thought about going to
like what if I had like been like, come on guys, we'll do a live PKA at the Trump rally. It's a huge thing. We'll be on TV. Maybe we'll just do the PKA live. We'll stick. And like, what if you guys had agreed to it? And then we're there and we get swept up. And then, come on, we'll do a PKA from inside the Capitol building. It'll be great. And then the next thing you know, we're all in prison.
we're all in Guantanamo
That has occurred
Bay.
to me. Like, at what point do I start to say, no, I think this is too much? Right. Mind you, you have a whole crowd taking over the Capitol building, right? People knocking over police. They've got their riot shields. They're bashing in the bulletproof windows on that building, and they've taken it over, and they're opening doors. And what I'm there with like 6,000 people headed this way saying, no, I've got better judgment than this crowd. But like, I could be swept up. It could have happened.
I could be swept up too. If everybody was going in and like for a moment, like. But I wouldn't be there, you know. I think if they start breaking the windows and hurting people, I don't want that. That's when I know it's not my crowd, especially me.
There's just especially you.
I can imagine too.
There's no political rally I really want to go to. There's never been one where I'm like, oh, I'm there. Like, I don't want to be around that. Honestly,
do you want to talk about Colby Covington more, or is that right?
Oh, I just think that's so hilarious. He's such a fucking good troll. He knows how to inject himself so well into those scenarios. You know, that's really good trolling on his part. Kanye might get canceled for real. Black people are kind of done with him. White people are signing off now. That I got a feeling that a big part of Kanye's audience is white people. Like I would say I believe probably 65-70% of his like money audience, people who pay to like get his shit, is white people. and then the rest is other people's. But he's turned off both groups now. like
Did
nobody.
I think JP Morgan debanked him. Like
Yeah, they
his,
dropped him
his
as well.
Yeezy banking
Yeah.
away.
I think he's got until the end of November to find a new bank.
Man.
Last week, I predicted that Kanye wouldn't get canceled. That he's just a special guy. Everyone looks at him through a different lens, and he can wear a White Lives Matter shirt, and they're like, "Yeah, it's just Kanye being Kanye, right? He says weird things."
Dropping the Jews directly into conversation was not a good move on his part.
I didn't. I saw that he tweeted that he was going to go after Jews, and I saw
Never a
something
good
about-
thing to say.
What is it? DEFCON 3?
DEFCON 3.
But I
Said death, not deaf, which was also not great.
and then he was on Tucker Carlson, and Zach has the tweet. I'm going to read it. I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. Funny thing is, I actually can't be anti-Semitic because black people are actually Jew also. You guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball anyone who ever opposes your agenda.
Can I throw out a couple things about the terminology DEFCON 3? Okay, so first of all, he's a rapper. He's all about like changing the way words work, and he's a self-proclaimed genius. So I'm just going to assume that he knows that it's actually DEFCON, DEF. And I don't know what DEF. I bet it's an acronym or stands for something, maybe defensive posture or something. In any case, 3 is a lower thing than 1. DEFCON 1 is when we're launching nukes, I think. It's when like the world's about to end.
And 5 is the most chill. So for him to go to 3, he's kind of in the middle. It's like we're observing thing. I'm going to go mild on this tomorrow.
I'm going to give this some thought tomorrow, everyone. And you're right. Yeah, 3. What the hell?
It goes
not a very good number.
I'm pretty sure that 90% of the time that Kanye tweets something, he's not entirely sure what he's talking about. So
yeah.
Honestly, the fact that you said deaf and death, if he picked the number 3, he doesn't know any of that stuff.
See, that's where I am. I don't know because
because you'd either go 1.
But you've heard his music though. He's capable of this kind of like lyrical, like he could be making a pun there.
Sure.
He could be saying
I don't know much about
by
Kanye.
going death con because maybe saying death and con as in conning you out of something. Maybe he's trying to say something there. Like with between the lines, you're supposed to read into.
Is he playing 3D chess or not, or is he dumb, or is he outsmarting?
Right, the only thing he is good at is writing and like being a wordsmith. Like that's his thing. Like he sells those hideous clothes, those stupid fucking shoes, the like social media nonsense.
I do not like his clothes.
All of that is bad. The only thing he can do is write. And you're gonna tell me he doesn't know that it's DEF CON? I don't know. Maybe he's just an idiot, and I'm
It could
wrong,
be.
but-
I think you made an excellent point with the number 3 thing. If he was familiar with the term DEFCON, he would have gone like DEFCON 5. Time to start fact finding, or like, or he'd be like DEFCON 1. I'm gonna get real on Facebook Live tomorrow.
We going nuclear on the Israelis tomorrow. DEFCON 1. Like if he said that, like I'd have understood that he understood things. But I think he's actually mentally ill. I saw them on CNN. They were saying mental illness is no excuse for anti-Semitism. And I was like, isn't it?
Seems like it actually is, though.
I was caught off guard.
Did you see he was on Tucker Carlson's show, and that they edited out the parts where he was crazy? So he and Tucker were talking. Anytime he hit a talking point that, say, Tucker's been hitting for years, they kept it in the show. Anytime he said something wackadoo that they wanted to, not portray him as a mentally ill, crazy person, they edited it out. It was left on the cutting room.
There was a part where he said something. He was like, how they, and you know what? I just said that, and they gonna interpret that a different way, and that ain't what I meant. Could we edit that out? And he was like, yeah, no problem. And then it's like, I'm reading this on the toilet. Y'all stuck. like I feel bad for Kanye in that because if we're gonna have an interview where he's gonna be like, you know what, that came out wrong. That ain't what I mean. That's just what like fell out of my mouth right now. And can we take that out? If he took it out of the broadcast, but how does it get leaked? Because in that instance, I feel bad for him.
We don't edit this, but you can expand on this and explain what you really mean.
How did it get leaked though? Like he did edit. It's not in the broadcast.
Well,
but I've got the transcript.
It's out
on my phone.
Yeah,
right. Fox leaked it. Same thing that went on with that punch at the basketball practice. Got leaked by an insider.
They still don't know how that's leaked. It's
I need to
love them.
find the whatever staffer suddenly has a new Benz. Like, that's whoever's driving around in their new Mercedes-Benz TMZ money, because I'm sure they made a lot from
They're
that.
like, it must be. I think they got paid 170,000. Maybe Zach can fact check that.
Are you guys familiar with the second half of that tweet though? What he was talking about with like the black people are the real Jews thing?
Yeah.
With Kanye? No, I've heard
Black
like
Hebrew Israelites thing.
Yeah.
I've seen videos of the Hebrew Israelites, very aggressive. They do not they don't care for white people.
It's very like, and it's weird stuff that's rooted in like pseudo history and all that. I had a whole thing on TikTok earlier this year and late last year where I was arguing with this woman who claimed Rome didn't exist. And yeah, that's a conspiracy theory.
It's there today.
Yep. She claims that the city
can
of Rome
go.
was built in 1515 AD or something like that.
Okay, well, she's just nonsense.
Oh, no, she's absolutely
You can go
insane.
back to like Charlemagne in like 800 and see that he's making his coins look like Roman coins because he wants to like
Yeah, he wants
stand
to
up the
emulate
old
that.
standards.
But
He wants
that's
to
the
emulate the status quo.
This woman had 100,000 followers who like wholeheartedly every single one of her videos were like, thank you for preaching the truth. The world needs to like, I'm sure there was some of them in there trolling, but for the most part, because she would delete any comment that did not agree with her. It was hilarious.
That's
But,
gotta be
After the
exhausting.
fall
The
of
problem
Rome,
is-
those Germanic tribes kept putting Roman fucking faces on
Exactly,
their coins
like-
for 100 years.
It makes no
100 years.
sense. But that kind of pseudo history and stuff, when people get deep enough into it and they don't have like the education to know it's wrong, or they assume that the reason you're after that person is because they're a woman, which was me. My case was apparently I'm sexist for calling you out on being batshit insane. But like that infects people's minds and they start to believe it. And if you're not constantly like shutting that shit down, and I'm not saying to censor it or make sure people aren't allowed to say it or whatever, but somebody's got to be out there being like, okay, fun fantasy story you've got there, but no. Otherwise, you get to things like Kanye West saying it's DEFCON 3 on Jews. Like, if you don't nip that in the bud, it becomes a very, very big problem.
Is the Black Israelite thing, or is it something different that like white people are demons, like not real people?
I mean, it all rolls into the same kind of like Black Hebrew Israelite, Hotep, like all of that different stuff. All does come from a Black supremacy standpoint. And any kind of racial supremacy, in my opinion, is just really fucking stupid because
Sure.
People are people, and people have their things that they're good at and things that they're bad at. Somebody being Black is not going to make them bad at math. Like, that's kind of where I lean on. It's like, people are individuals. There's 7 billion of us.
I'm really interested in what evidence there being that Rome isn't there right just now.
There's no evidence. Oh no, she believes that Rome is currently there.
I can
Just
find
that it
a
wasn't
live
there.
feed.
Woody,
of
haven't you
Rome.
been to Rome? Isn't that
He
Yeah.
believes
You
he's
wanna-
been to Rome.
Yeah,
what
yeah.
has been?
I saw it. It's there.
This lady was arguing that like half of Rome was constructed by Mussolini in the 1930s.
She's a troll, man. She's a troll.
I wish
I
she was
choose to
just a
believe.
troll.
So
That's
I think
insane.
that smart people who are good at making arguments have a real problem with their time being wasted by two forms of people: the mentally ill and trolls. Okay, if you're a person who's capable of realizing that all of the many reasons why Rome existed, you're at least of average or above average intelligence, and that should be utilized elsewhere than disproving a mentally ill / troll. Because
I made a good
it's
amount of
one or the
money
other.
off of it. To be clear.
No one with sound mind who's put any amount of like effort into studying the thing thinks Rome didn't fucking exist. That's crazy talk. That's silliness. That's a
all
joke.
it would take is one example of them being like, hey, new evidence reveals Sparta not as old as previously thought, and then you'd have a million billion of this going around like, and the pyramids. Oh, I bet there is one for the pyramids.
do
if they're
have-
not as
you
The
old as
do.
they
pyramids
are.
are older. All right, so I believe the pyramids are much older than we think they are.
Well, some of them, like the ones at Giza, were like thousands of years old by the time Cleopatra was a person.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. And
long
they don't
fucking
know. They don't even know who built the fucking Sphinx there. And I remember that thing from the History Channel before, when it used to be the History Channel, when they claimed there was water erosion at the base of the Sphinx.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like to believe that that's like much older. Like
I don't like the way that the ancient Egyptians, they like dipped their toe in the Sphinx pool to try it out. and then went back to pyramids. Like you found a better, cooler type of.
See, I think that was some older
monument.
people. I think that was some cooler people that came before them. And there's a movie called 10,000 BC. It's a terrible movie, but they put forward in that movie that like I think they go into like Egypt, and it's kind of a tropical ish Egypt, and they've got mammoths that they're like using to move blocks, and they're building the pyramids like in 10,000 BC. There's all the saber-toothed tigers and mammoths and what we would think of as like the hunter-gatherers that would have lived back then, and those people are just in awe by an actual civilization. They're being like, it's a little bit like Apocalypto in some ways, like kind of similar.
Have you seen who knows how like true or reliable this is, but they apparently are now saying like maybe those big stones that they used in the pyramids weren't quarried and moved. They also knew at the time how to mix components and let it reset into like limestone.
I've seen that,
which seems really cool.
I don't know that's
like,
yeah.
I wasn't even like I'm not really a Republican. I've always been more a classical liberal, like like paleoconservative type. For me, like I was
paleoconservative,
like Thomas
like,
Jefferson,
someone who
early
loves
American founding
low
ideas.
taxes and dinosaur bones.
Exactly, you got it.
I love low taxes and
Thomas
T-Rexes.
Conservative. I feel like whenever someone says they're a founding fathers believer, they just project onto what they would like to think Thomas Jefferson would have said about.
I do have a lot of
supporter.
I do have plenty of disagreements.
What's Jefferson's take on Medicare? Please lay this out for me.
I have a lot of disagreements with all of the founding fathers, but there are certain things that like the through lines of the Constitution and all that in terms of ideology that I appreciate, because I don't trust authority. I don't trust hierarchies.
What through lines of the Constitution? I'm not following this. Maybe it's my lack of education.
The simple, just limited government, freedom of speech, expression, the right to bear arms, stuff like that. Like that's, the stuff that made it into that final draft. I very much like. I think it was very well written. I think that there were some unfulfilled promises at the time. For example, all men are created equal in the Declaration of Independence. Well, clearly not, because there were slaves. But there was it was almost a promissory note that like everything that we're talking about here, we intend to fulfill. And then, of course, it took a very long time. But a lot of people don't know that Jefferson proposed abolishing slavery in the 1700s, and then again 3 times in the 1800s. Pennsylvania abolished slavery in 1780. Like they're all, the fact that the South still had it in 1865 does not necessarily track with, what the entire country wanted. And I think that, certain things like the 1619 Project, total horse shit. Like, that is not a history. And I think, what's her name? Nicole Hannah-Jones. I think she actually had to come out and retract it and say, oh, well, this isn't actually a history. This is, a political treatise. And so stuff like that, though, is what I mean when I say, like, I think back to a lot of the way the founding fathers were, just that Enlightenment philosophy of, people deserve the right to be free and, pursue happiness and life, liberty, and property, those kinds of things.
Sure.
I think it's all just a fucking joke at this point. Nothing we do really matters. So it's best to elect the people that are the silliest.
That's also fair.
I've been working on that as much as a person who's not allowed to vote anymore can, really. Basically just what I do here. This is the
tries to steer the
I mean,
ship
you're
of
talking
American
to a guy who made his image and his living talking about how the National Park Service is hiding the Wendigo.